Hey everyone, my name is STVS. Welcome to another tutorial. This time we're going to see how we can actually implement the shader that we made last time, and the end result is going to look something like this. So we have a hero here and an enemy, and we shoot some bullets and he turns white for some seconds, then he goes back to normal. Now, first of all, let's make sure that we have implemented the universal render pipeline correctly. So we're going to go to our package manager and make sure that universal RP is installed. I've also showed this in the last video, but let's go ahead and show it once more. Go to rendering and create a pipeline asset, create the delete the renderer and create a 2D renderer instead, if I can find it. Yes, okay. 2D renderer. Go to the pipeline asset and drag the renderer here. Click Edit, Project Settings, Graphics, and select the universal render pipeline asset. Now go to Quality once more and also choose the pipeline asset that we just created. Hit X, click Edit, Render Pipeline, Universal Render Pipeline, 2D Renderer, upgrade project to 2D Renderer. Proceed. Okay, so supposedly we have upgraded our project. As you can see here, I have a small scene with some tiles and global light so that our sprites are seen, and nothing more. So the next step is to create the shader again. This time it will be enhanced with some booleans, with some boolean properties. Actually, it's only one that will be able to be changed inside our script. So let's go ahead and do that. Click Create, Shader, Universal Render Pipeline, Sprite Lit Shader Graph, and we're going to name this shader Hit Shader. Open it up by double clicking, hit Shift and Space in order to go to full screen mode, and let's go ahead and create it. Okay, so we're going to need some properties first of all. One of them is a boolean, and we're going to name it hit, like this. Select it, and in the graphics inspector, make sure, this is very important, that in the reference you rename this to underscore hit or whatever else you like. Just remember this name, because this is how we're going to access this boolean inside our scripts. Okay, and we're going to need one more. It's going to be a 2D texture. It's going to be the main texture of our sprite. Call it main underscore main text. This has to be exactly the same name as I do it here, and also change the reference as well to underscore main text. This is something that I did not do in the last video, and apparently some of you could not see your sprite. This is probably the reason why. Okay, now let's create a new a new node and call it sample texture 2D, which is called sample texture 2D, and drag our main text inside the field right here. Okay, second of all, we are going to connect the alpha of this texture to the alpha of our fragment node, and let's go ahead and set a default texture in order so that we can see the changes that will be made, and change this to quad. Okay. Right, so now we can only see the alpha, but we also want to be able to either see a white version of our sprite or the whole sprite as it was before. So in order to do that, we're going to create a branch node which is going to check if this hit boolean is going to check if this hit boolean is true or false. If it's false, if our object is not hit, we're going to take the color of our sprite, the colors of our sprite. But if it's hit, if it's true, we're just going to return a white color, which is this 1111, and take the output of those and drag it inside the base color. Okay, so our shader is now ready. Go back with shift space again, and let's see what else we got to do. We have to create a material with this shader that we just created. So go to create material and let's name it hit material, like this. Change its shader to hit shader. Okay, and now let's create a hero and an enemy so that we can demonstrate this shader. I have downloaded some assets here. You will have yours, of course. I will choose this virtual guy for our hero and the frog for our enemy. If I can find the sprite. Okay, here it is. Let's rotate it. Okay, and let's drag the material of this, the material that we created before, to this enemy and see how it behaves. Sprite renderer, material, here. Okay. So nothing happens. This is because the hit property is not checked, but let's check it and see what happens. Our frog becomes white. So we're going to change this inside of our scripts when he takes damage. Okay, let's do that. I will rename this to hero and this to enemy. And I'm going to go ahead and create a hero script first. I'm going to name it hero. Open it up in Visual Studio. And let's see. First of all, we're going to need a serialized field. Something is wrong here. Okay, serialized field. Let me zoom in for you. Okay, game object. We're going to name it bullet prefab. Okay, next we need a method called shoot bullet, which is going to take this bullet and shoot it to our right direction. So let's create the bullet. I'm just going to use a circle for the bullet. It's going to be something like this, with a rigid body 2D, which is going to be kinematic, and the collision detection is going to be continuous, like this. Also, we don't we don't have to set gravity because it's kinematic. Okay, let's create a script for this bullet called bullet. And now that we're at it, let's also create a script for our enemy. Okay, called enemy. Let's create the bullet methods first. Okay, so on update, we want this bullet to move forwards all the time. So to do that, we need a reference to its rigid body. I'm going to name it RB and say here RB dot velocity equals new we don't need to do this on update actually. Let's do it in start method. We need to set it only once. Let's also have movement speed. Okay, this is going to move it forward. And also let's have an onTrigger enter2d function. We're going to check the tag of our collision. If it's enemy, we are going to take the enemy component and store it inside a value. And say enemy dot take damage. Now we have not created this function yet, so let's go ahead and do that. Click Control dot and generate the function. This is our enemy script. I'm going to name to change this to public, and now we have created the take damage function. I'm not going to do this yet. So okay, we have our bullet script. Now let's go to our hero script and actually create this bullet. So I'm going to say on set bullet instantiate bullet prefab transform dot position. Okay, we are ready, and we're going to check if we press space. And if we actually have pressed space, we're going to set this bullet. Okay. Now it's time to create the enemy script. So we're going to need a reference to our sprite renderer. You don't need to do this way. You can just make it private and to do it on the start method, but I do this only for the tutorial. So take damage is going to start a coroutine. So let's start doing this. I'm going to create a coroutine inside our function here called take damage core. Okay. What this is going to do is take our material, which is going to be the hit material, and set. As you can see, we don't have a set bool function, so bools are actually integers, shaders. So we're going to set int called hit underscore hit to 1, and then we're going to wait for 0.5 seconds and make the hit value 0 once again. So take damage actually does nothing right now when we execute it. Our coroutine here is created, but it's not executed. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And yeah, this should work. I believe there will be some bugs, but let's see. Okay, first of all, let's go to our hero, and we need to create a bullet prefab first, so let's do that real quick. Drag the rigid body here and set the movement speed to something like 5, and our bullet is ready. Let's also name it bullet. Drag the prefab, delete it from your scene, and then drag it to the bullet prefab. Okay, now let's go to our enemy and drag the sprite renderer, and also add a collision to him so that the bullet can detect him. Also, let's go to the bullet and change, let's also add a collider. It's going to be a box collider, why not? And set it to trigger. Yes, to trigger. Set a tag to our enemy. So let's do that real quick. Add tag, enemy. Let's try again. So yeah, this is how you do it, guys. I hope that you found this useful. You can also make the bullet delete itself once this is done, so you can do it like this, and you can also decrease the time that it takes for the shader to turn back to the original color by introducing a variable here. I'm going to name it hit time. And change its value to 0.1. And as you can see now, it's going to be, the sprite is going to be white for far less time, and the bullet is also going to be destroyed. So this is how you do it, guys. I hope that you found this video useful. I am planning to make more videos in the future, actually, in a more often schedule. If you have any problems that I could help you with and solve here on the channel, write it down in the comments and I will try my best to do that. So see you in another tutorial. Bye.